Hey out there, this is May 5th, 2017. It's Friday here in Northern California. And I'm going to talk about the usual kind of stuff, I think. But this backdrop I got is getting kind of boring. In my little man cave here, my humble abode. And I'm thinking about getting a poster to put here, the Andromeda Galaxy. I ordered a poster. And so hopefully by next week, I'll have that up and it'll be a little more interesting to look at. But, it's been an interesting week. Alex Jones came out a week ago and started talking about what he's been going through in the last few years, apparently, with his marriage and his family, his children, and it's pretty rough. And it came as kind of a surprise, I think, to all of his listeners that he was going through this stuff. And he came out and did a press meeting and divulged all this stuff 1 week ago today. And I know a lot of this stuff's hard to talk about when it's going on because I've been through enough of it myself. But he felt compelled for whatever reason to come out and let the world know what's been going on. And he's already, I don't know if he's remarried, but he's already with somebody else. And he's got a baby either already here or on the way. He doesn't talk too much about it. I guess he likes to have a few things to be private about, and that's fine. Everybody deserves that, right? Anyhow, I wanted to talk about Trump a little bit and how people have to realize that it's going to take time. And this theme has been coming up on the Alex Jones show this past week. This, don't expect instant gratification. And I would second that. And I would say, yeah, that's exactly right. Look, you trust the man to be intelligent. You say, yeah, we know he's a multi-billionaire. Yeah, we know he's flawed and all this. But at the end of the day, we believe he's on the side of the American people. And that means all the American people, not some. Which is the problem we've had for far too long, is that one group of slobs gets into office, let's say the Democrats, and the other side, let's say the Republicans, feel jilted and feel disenfranchised from the system. So, they just do what they can to bide their time, hold their breath until the next guy gets in. But we've got to get over that as a nation if we're going to survive. And all this Antifa stuff and all this push to censor free speech, I mean, it's not going to work, okay? It's just not going to work. I think that InfoWars and their reporters have a very good point in attacking the veracity, let's say, of the belief system of this Antifa crowd, these communists. I mean, you do have to look into the history of communism. You have to look at Mao Zedong and how many people died at his hands through starvation mostly. And then you've got to look at Stalin and what he did. Okay, you've got to not have your eyes wide shut about these things. You've got to be honest, and you've got to understand why so many people abhor communism. Pol Pot, okay, it goes on and on. It doesn't work. Communist China today, what a miserable country that would be to live in. Could you imagine how oppressive, repressive that would be to live there? To be on this one-child policy where, hey, they'll force you to have an abortion. I mean, I don't know how much of that's still going on today. I think there's been so much outrage in the world, and these people have been trading their merchandise with the world now. And so we're all kind of capitulating to this kind of mentality where this is in any way, shape, or form okay. I mean, this is an ungodly thing that these people that believe the earth is overpopulated, okay, I mean, this is a special kind of stupid. A special kind of elitist hypocrisy, okay? Look, it's like a holding up a banner that says, I do not believe in God, okay? Or I believe a little bit, but I know God's incompetent, and he set me in charge to tell the earth and the people of the earth when the earth is populated enough. Okay, that's rubbish. Okay, that's God's decision solely. and nobody else's. People got to get that through their heads. So, but this is the whole context and pretext for economic oppression. I mean, we all know this Cloward and Piven strategy and all this. What they're trying to sell us is an ever lessening standard of living. This is what it all comes down to. And the communists out there and the socialists out there and the crony capitalists and, and the good capitalists all have to understand what the plan is, okay? And division is an integral part of their plan. They want us at each other's throats. They don't even want us to understand why we're at each other's throats. They don't want us to understand that the devil's in the detail, and the devil delights in the division, okay? And we're God's children. God is just pouring his love down on all of us, wanting us to come together as a family and start treating each other as a family, okay? And talking to each other with a modicum of respect, at least that you respect people's passion for what they believe in. People, they kill and die for their beliefs. So what's not to, give somebody some respect for that and just presume that they're deluded, that they're deceived, and that God's appointed you to help open their eyes on this, okay? And it works both ways. If the communists believe that about the capitalists, then they've got an obligation to explain in very clear terms and win them over to your side of thinking. But you just can't divorce yourself from your fellow human being. All you Antifa communists, I mean, who isn't Antifa? Give me a break. I mean, anti-fascist? Of course, I mean, so to say that anybody that opposes Antifa must be pro-fascist, okay? That's the takeaway there, and that's not okay in any way, shape, or form. Look, people have to get over their hatred of Trump and understand, look, he's just another human being, okay? And yes, he's lived an extravagant lifestyle. Big deal. I've lived an extravagant lifestyle. When I was a kid, I mean, my friends were all envious of me, all traveling the world with his dad and his sailboat, and he lived here and there and the next place, and it's also exciting, been all over Europe, and then his dad built a giant sailboat, and he sailed down to Costa Rica with his dad and stopped in towns like Zihuatanejo, Mexico, and got to see 25-foot wide manta rays swimming in crystal clear ocean 40 feet down to the bottom, the sand bottom. Okay, this is the kind of stuff I've been through it, and hey, you know what? So what? Anybody can do that stuff. It's not that big a deal. It's a lot cheaper to live on a sailboat than paying rent. Look into it. I mean, and you could probably find enough scrap wood in America to put something together to live on, okay? So anybody can do anything. And my dad is a testament to that. He achieved things, accomplished things that most men dare not even dream of. So yeah, I lived an extravagant lifestyle in that sense. It was pretty cool. To be 14 years old and be sailing in Central America, okay, with my dad, Mexico and Central America. Well, my friends were, my age group were in their freshman year of high school. I averted the entire year. But I still graduate on time because I'm not a dumb guy. I can catch up. I did what the counselor said. And so for all intents and purposes, I am at least a high school graduate, although I've had enough college probably to have a master's. But, Donald Trump and his kids were born with a silver spoon in his mouth and all this. And look at Alex Jones. He lives a pretty high life, and I don't hold it against anybody. I don't care. I think it's great. I think we all ought to be able to live extravagant lifestyles. And that goes to the Antifa. Okay, I've told everybody time and time again, look, if I had my way, everybody would be free. Okay, and I think I myself, with that philosophy alone, am too radical for the Alex Jones show. Although you hear it spewed all the time, freedom this, freedom that, America's free, and nobody really wants to define words. But if we don't have a meeting of minds as to the specific definition of a word, what does it mean? We're not having a productive conversation where we can all grow from it. We don't know. I mean, we're speaking Babylon. If I say a word and something goes in your head, okay, leftist, neocon, Democrat, Republican, conservative, liberal. I mean, it's just that what's in your mind, what's in mine can often completely different things. So it's so important when we use these subjective terms that are very relative often, we need to define that in the conversation, in the context of the conversation we're having. So when you talk about a word like freedom, for example, you've got to talk about things like, what are we saying absolute freedom or a specific avenue of freedom, like free speech, for example? Crucial. Okay, there's nothing left of this country. Okay, it's going to be utterly unlivable if we lose the First Amendment right. If I can't say what the hell I got on my, if I got a chip on my shoulder, I got a complaint, then I've got to get it off my shoulders. Otherwise, I'm a very dangerous man to repress that anger. Okay, I can't do it. Okay, and there's a lot to be angry about, and people have to put their finger on it. All of us do. Antifa does. All you people that say you're conservative and you lean toward the right wing and all this, and you're a capitalist, then you need to, also understand nothing's happening in a vacuum. These communists are being created in a fascist system. This is what's happened. So you could call it leftist and all this, but it's not helping at all, okay, because it's serious. It goes way beyond that crap, and you admit yourselves that the neocons are involved. You yourselves admit how pernicious crony capitalism is and what it does. I mean, I hate it as a good capitalist, an Adam Smith capitalist that is willing to define progress. Okay, that's another word. We got to define social progress. What is civilization-wide progress? What is economic progress? Okay, what I mean is crime lessening? Are people less incentivized to go commit crime, or are they still made to be financially desperate? So it's induced by being financially desperate, okay, through extreme poverty. Okay, why do we do this when we all have to admit you have a willing workforce? Nobody has to be extremely poor, and yet for some reason, for whatever reason, there's people that are endorsing it, condoning it in their own little way. They always want to say how bad, rising minimum wage is, but they never talk about the rising cost of living. And how if you don't give somebody a commensurate cost of living adjustment, then it, for all intents and purposes, and mathematically and logically speaking, it's no different than if they got a pay decrease. It reminds me of the same kind of hypocrisy from these people that say, hey, you know what? I mean, I believe the earth is overpopulated, and so people should be allowed to abort their children, and people should be allowed to it should be completely okay and to be single and to be, homosexual and all these reasons. And yeah, that's what we're doing, is we're engineering society socially to get the population down. And this is desirable because we're screwing up the earth. It's all like an avenue for prescribing to the climate change thing. Where, hey, yeah, I mean, it's a given. I mean, it's science. The climate's changing, and we should all be concerned, and it's all related to overpopulation. And, I mean, just look at the highways and all this. There's no place to park your car anymore. I mean, come on. It's a no-brainer. The Earth's overpopulated, right? So, right away you're supposed to prescribe to that and start asking questions like, well, why don't the cities in their general plan provide parking garages for everybody? If they want high-density living, that's fine, but make the city livable. Okay, free parking to people. Okay. And everybody, when I talk the way I do, people say, money, well, who's going to pay for it and all this? Look, like Adam Smith said, every nation's single greatest asset is its workforce, okay? A willing workforce. Anything can get done and does get done with that. Without it, you got nothing. And I say to you, beyond that, look at all the people doing useless, non-productive jobs in our society whose jobs would disappear if you just ended extreme poverty. And it'd be so much dramatically cheaper. So what I'm saying is fiscally very conservative, very prudent. Okay, but I digress. I wanted to finish my point. So these kind of people, these kind of hypocrites, because they'll say that, but then they'll be the same ones that saying, hey, there's something wrong with you if you don't want unbridled, unmitigated immigration into America. You're not compassionate. You're not empathetic, right? Isn't it? Am I right about that? I mean, so I'm trying to point out both sides have their own blind spots of hypocrisy. And this is what God is telling me. I mean, I'm saying these things because I feel compelled to do it. I'm just trying to be a good friend, a good brother. That's it. That's it. I don't give any money for what I do. But I can't shut up because I give a damn. I want to live in a better world. I got kids. I care about people. I just want to be happy and free. So, in defining the term freedom, man, we have to include financial freedom. And unless you were born with a silver spoon in your mouth, you weren't born financially free. And all I'm saying is that if we accept as a society, as a civilization, that it's perfectly okay for people to be born with a silver spoon in their mouth, I would tell you that it's okay for everybody to be born with a silver spoon in their mouth. Does Donald Trump Jr. stop going to work? See, that's my point. That the lie is that we would stop going to work. I've heard people say it. I hear Alex Jones's reporters asking to say, well, who would do the work? Who would go to the jobs if everybody was rich? I mean, come on here, folks. You can't have it both ways. It's either you're free or you're not. And are you going to be my boss of me? Are you going to be my oppressor and tell me what I need to do, how I need to live my life? Or do you trust your own conscience? And if your conscience is sufficient for you, then it's none of your damn business whether or not my conscience or his conscience or her conscience is sufficient to get the job done.